How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm well. I was just, texting Kaylin a minute ago or so. Are we recording today? And I noticed that I had forgotten to respond to the query a few days ago. Does 10 o'clock Monday work for everybody? And I had written a response, but I never sent it. And in fact, what I was saying was I had an eye doctor appointment today, which I postponed or rescheduled. And this is that doctor who occasionally gives me a shot in the eye. So, the upside for me, I don't really, whether we did a podcast or not, the upside for me was I don't have to go see that doctor who occasionally will stick me in the eye with a needle.
The idea of having a needle stuck in your eyeball is
there are a lot of things that sound better, a whole number of things that sound a lot better than that. Getting hit in the eye with a sharp stick, literally.
Yeah.
I had to have a blood test done last week, and I told the phlebotomist who was taking the sample, I said, I used to say, I don't really mind the little pain of that. I just don't need to be watching you when you do it,
Yeah.
So I'm going to look away.
Yeah.
But you don't have that option when the doctor's going to shoot you in the eyeball. You can't say, I'm going to look away for this, doc. But it really is nowhere near as painful and torturous. I mean, because when they first told me they were going to have to give me a shot in the eyeball, I had visions of Clockwork Orange, and Malcolm McDowell with that thing in his eye, holding it open. It's nothing it was nothing like that, but still, I'd rather not have it done.
Why does this guy keep sticking your eyeballs to the
pen? He hasn't for a couple of years. He did.
Has it been that long?
Oh, yeah, God, really. Okay. It's been a few years, but I go back and see him every 6 months or so. In fact, I haven't seen him for almost a year, but I had a little bit of a bleeding, a little blood vessel that was bleeding, and these shots tend to stop the bleeding.
I see.
And I mean, it didn't seem to be affecting my vision all that much. I got other things that affect my vision. I do have to wear glasses to read.
Yeah.
So, but they did notice it. The doctors noticed it when I had an eye exam, and this doctor said, probably wouldn't be a bad idea to take care of this now. So I think altogether I had 3 shots maybe 2 years ago, and since then he hasn't given me a shot, but there's always that potentiality there when I go. The last few times he's sort of said, it's up to you, whether to have one or not. Well, doctor, if it's up to me.
Why would you use, instead of using the word potentiality? How don't those mean exactly the same thing? Potential. There's always the potential. Well, there's always the potentiality.
The potentiality is like saying putting elevator shoes on your vocabulary. To use Pauline Kael's term, potential is enough. That's enough of a word. You don't need to use any more than that. Potentiality kind of means the same thing, except why bother with the extra verbiage? Potential says the same thing.
Except for to let people know that you fucking graduated from Stanford, when you were potentiality. That's definitely a word I never used. Listen, Jim, we're always talking about movies and I think Kaylin has got like a list that he wants us to fill out, or at least give best this, best that, a little bit later. But I can't do I don't really feel like I can talk to you without, like, if there was an earthquake today, I have to, like, kind of got to mention the earthquake, and so sometimes when I'm talking, I feel like there's so much insanity going on in the United States right now. Just insanity that I feel like I have to mention it, and I hope that our listeners can put up with a little bit. This isn't politics. This is not politics, but it seems to me that this whole situation with the list of people who showed up at Jeffrey Epstein's house, or has really gotten some, like, you know, who are they going to fire now? And like, I don't, and
Oh, it's like the animal is the snake that's swallowing its own tail, you know, the animal that's consuming itself. I told a friend of mine that my hoist on your own petard, he who lives by the conspiracy theory dies by the conspiracy theory. Schadenfreude is kind of working overtime now to watch MAGA world kind of tearing itself apart over this thing. I think it's hysterical. I was just reading an article about it this morning, and yeah, they are ripping it up, you know. So it's kind of like watching Iran and Iraq at war. I'm not rooting for either side, and I hope they both do each other a lot of damage.
uh,
You know, or like Elon Musk and Trump going at it. I hope they both do each other a lot of damage. You know, let's just when your enemy is digging a hole, let him do it. Keep on going. Stand aside and watch.
You know, but the president of the United States, the last verbiage, whatever. Now I'm using words that I don't ever use. The last true social, you know, bit that he put out, was this whole thing about it was this Hillary Clinton and about this, right?
No, I was reading a letter he sent to the president of Brazil saying, we're going to impose really big tariffs on you unless you stop beating up on the last guy who was president, just because he sort of staged an insurrection and had his supporters go to the presidential or go to the national headquarters and Capitol and try to overrun it with his supporters. Just because he did that, kind of copying me, you guys shouldn't be prosecuting him now. So unless you stop prosecuting your former president, I'm going to impose 50% tariffs on you. And the letter he sent to the president of Brazil, it's like every other word is capitalized, like a grade schooler. There's nothing remotely professional about this letter at all. It's
have
like
you seen the texts that that Governor Newsom is sending to Stephen Miller?
No.
Oh, dude, you gotta.
Santa Monica's Gruppenführer.
Oh,
Miller? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It is getting. I guess when
I swear
when you
God,
go to you fight with rats, you got to get in the gutter with them. And
if you put pictures of Stephen Miller and Adolf Eichmann next to each other, you would say separated at birth. They, brothers of the same mother. They look so much alike. It's freaky. It's freaky. So,
well, the last thing that I had kind of heard about these files is that Trump had said, well, his attorney general, his
Pam Blondie.
yeah, they've all said that doesn't really exist. It's not there anymore. The FBI, head of the FBI. Did you know, Jim, that the head of the second at the not the State Department, at what would you call
FBI?
It? No,
Justice Department.
Justice Department. Yeah. Do you know who the second guy is? Who's the head of the Justice Department right now?
It's the Attorney General.
Yeah,
is the head of the Justice Department, and that's Pam Biondi.
All right, so she's in hot water now, supposedly, possibly.
People are calling on right wing social media who dislike her are calling her Pam Blondie. Yeah. Like Laura Loomer is calling her Pam Blondie, because she said, "Hey, I got this list. I got the list of Epstein's clients on my desk right here in front of me." And then a few days later, oh, well, it doesn't exist, or we don't think there's anything that can be gained by releasing any more information. So that's kind of what appears to have, appears to have MAGA world splitting apart over this.
Go ahead.
Well, she's the Attorney General, And then apparently there was a meeting last week, and the deputy director of the FBI, a guy named Dan Bagnino, who I guess was really big in podcasting in the podcasting world before he became.
You ever heard of him,
I think
Caitlin?
No.
Okay.
yeah. Well, I guess he's a former Secret Service agent. And he fell in with the MAGA folks some years ago and became a podcaster. And he's now the second in charge at the FBI. And he's the guy who got into a big fight with Pam Biondi, telling her that she had mishandled this whole thing and that the big flare up is her fault. And apparently over the weekend, the stories were, well, he's thinking of quitting. He didn't go to his job on Friday. So I don't know what the latest is on his status, but the framing I saw of the squabble at this point was that it was sort of internecine warfare between people, high up in the Trump administration. But it seems to be flaring out in.
Do you know who the person who is the second at the Justice Department is now? Like, there's Pam.
The second in command is the Deputy Attorney General, currently Todd Blanche.
Yeah, do you know who Todd Blanche is?
Todd Blanche was one of his attorneys
who lost the case. Yeah. Right?
Well, yeah, I mean, he argued, he lost the case in New York with the 34 felony convictions. He sort of won the case in the Supreme Court with the immunity case for the January 6th indictments. So, and then the holding on to secret materials, the top secret materials case got tossed by that Eileen Cannon judge in Florida that Trump appointed. And I mean, it didn't take any great lawyering to do that. It was fixed from the start with that judge, but he also represented Trump in that case. So, technically he won more cases than he lost, although he did lose 34 felony convictions in New York. But Blanche was essentially one of his top trial attorneys.
Yeah.
And then he appointed another one of his attorneys to the bench to become a federal judge, and he's up for hearings right now, a guy named Emil Bobe, and he's getting all kinds of crap for memos he wrote saying, we should just ignore the courts, tell them to fuck off. If they hand us any rulings on immigration we don't like, we'll just tell them to fuck off. And those memos are kind of coming back to haunt him as he's up for his confirmation hearings right now. So we'll see. I'm sure Susan Collins will express her concern and fur her brow and vote yes. So we'll be there. I've seen that show before. I've done that.
Yeah. Well, I just did the latest thing that I had heard was that Trump had come out and said, these files don't exist, but if they do exist, they were concocted by Hillary Clinton.
Oh no, I didn't hear.
Yeah, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton. And that's. Yeah, you can.
Well, the real tell and the giveaway with Trump and his people always is their projection. They accuse their opponents of what they are doing themselves. So if there was any, shenanigans with the Epstein Files, I'm sure it's something that they're up to. Almost invariably,
I just think of the very beginning of All the President's Men, where you go like tick, 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 and it's like typing.
The keys striking the paper on the.
Yes.
The reporters are typing out their stories.
Yes. Yeah. What's the what do you think of Alan Dershowitz? What was the movie they made basically about Alan? Let's talk about that movie a little bit. The movie Ron Silver, I think, played Dershowitz.
Yeah.
And he had a bunch of students. It was a very
Reversal of Fortune. It was called, and it was I ran into.
It's a good movie. It was a good movie.
Yeah,
and it really made him look pretty damn good. Right?
Yeah, it did. Oh yeah. He was a very good self-promoter. I ran into Dershowitz 50 years ago at Stanford. He was teaching at Harvard Law School, but he came to Stanford for a year on a sabbatical, and he was co-teaching an undergraduate course on criminal law. And I took that course, and he was a complete and total asshole in my view back then, even though he was espousing, leftist causes. And he did do a lot of work for wrongly or for death row
and that's what the movie's
convicts
about.
in the South.
The
Movie. Well, he also had a likeness for rich people,
right?
And the movie is about his defense of Klaus von Bülow,
right? Played by
Jeremy Irons,
right?
I believe,
right.
And
who won the Academy Award for Best Actor.
He won the Academy Award for Best Actor in that movie.
And I think Glenn Close plays the wife.
Yes, Glenn Close does play the wife. But,
yeah.
Well, that's a pretty easy role to play, isn't it? She's just like laying there in a coma the whole time.
She's in an insulin-induced
That's the kind of job that I like. That like Hicks,
Part. Yeah.
If I'm asleep on the set, people just step over me and say, "Oh, yeah, he's in character." Oh, Michael, that guy's always in character.
Always in character, playing the coma guy,
Who directed that movie, Jim? Do you know? Or do you know, Caleb?
I have it here. I want to see if Jim knows it.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
It's Barbette Schroeder.
Oh, Barbette Schroeder. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's. I think his best movie. I think Barbette Schroeder's best movie is that one. I thoroughly enjoyed that. But
I read the book that it was based on. Dershowitz. I've read a couple of Dershowitz's books, and he had one called The Best Defense, and he had this one called Reversal of Fortune about his handling of the Sonny von Bülow case. And I did the guy do it? I suspect he probably did. But Dershowitz helped to get him off. He had been convicted once, and then Dershowitz won a kind of rare appeal and got him, and they got him off the second time. So that's why it's called Reversal of Fortune.
When did Dershowitz go? Has he always been a right-leaning?
It was. I think.
It seems like he went off the fucking deep end.
He did. He did, and I think it was when Trump came along, and I think it was when he saw that he could have some influence on Trump with respect to Israeli policy, and I think that's what cemented him to Fox News and to the Trump piece. That he really liked Trump's approach to Netanyahu and to doing things like recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, like recognizing Israel's occupation of the Golan Heights. He was doing things that were very favorable to Israel and to Netanyahu especially, and I think Dershowitz liked that. Yeah, and that's what kind of got him going in that direction. But
Jim, I got a question for you. Why can't they, like the Israeli population, get rid? I mean, it doesn't sound like a democracy when Netanyahu's been there for like 20 years.
It's very close to the situation we have in this country. It's a very, very evenly divided population, and it's the gerrymandering and the institutional structures tend to favor the right wingers in Israel politics.
Okay,
they tend to favor these kind of extreme right wing parties that Netanyahu is able to string together into a coalition. So no, he's not a very popular guy. His ratings in Israel are worse than Trump's in this country, and Trump is underwater in this country and is in Israel. And Netanyahu is also facing a corruption trial that Trump is.
Well, I understand that, but don't they have elections every 2 years, 4 years, 8 years?
I don't know how often they have.
He's been in power for like 30 years, hasn't he? I mean, he's been
on and off. Yeah, I think he was out for a few years, but then back in. I mean, they have a parliamentary system, so the head of the government is whoever heads the party that has the most seats in parliament or can string together a coalition to vote them into power. But he's been able to string together a coalition of these, extreme right-wing parties. And that's why, his politics tend to be pretty extreme and right-wing, like let's go blow up Iran. Let's, go ahead and take over the Golan Heights.
What's the name of that?
All kinds of stuff.
Jeffrey Epstein's woman who used to go out and get all his.
What was her name? Giselle or something
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah.
Giselle
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah.
Maxwell, and her
I-
father was that fabulously rich media magnate, Robert Maxwell. Did you ever hear of him? He was sort of like Rupert Murdoch before Murdoch came along.
No.
And he died in a mysterious like boating accident. I think he drowned on his yacht.
Wow.
And her father was a well-known guy, and that's kind of what made her.
I guess she's kind of come out basically and said, well, the president said there isn't any fucking evidence. There's no evidence of a list. There's no list. Like why am I in jail if the president of the United States?
Did she say that? Has she?
Yes.
Up on, I know she's in Cannes right now, but no. Now does all of this extend to he didn't really kill himself, or are you hearing any of that or is it pretty well established that he killed himself?
Well, that situation is I only know what everybody else who's listening to this and
that's what I'm saying. What are they saying in the podcasting world or in the social media world of right wing?
Well, I think it was the Attorney General. I think that she was out basically saying that, like, every day, like 5 minutes of the visuals on the jail, get rearranged. So it's like 5 minutes every day, and it just happened to be those 5 minutes where he either committed suicide or got killed. And so nobody knows, but she's now providing or wants to provide earlier days and later days where those same 5 minutes are missing. I mean, the whole thing is a little bit like do you think they'll be making this movie somewhere down the line?
Oh, I'm sure of it. I'm sure that there's a writer's room somewhere in Hollywood that's conjuring up a take on all of this.
I watched the movie Deliverance the other day, and boy, that movie's good. And fucking Jon Voight, man. Jon Voight is a guy who is so talented. He's so good in that movie because he has to go from kind of just a normal person to somebody who makes a decision that he's going to break the law to try to save his ass. And
go ahead. And he's the one who has to rise to the occasion too.
Yes, he is. He is.
Yeah.
He's the only one.
I mean, it starts off with 4 guys, taking a river trip down a river, and Burt Reynolds is the He-Man of the group.
Yes.
He's the guy who brings his bow and arrow along. He's the tough guy. He's the guy you would expect could handle the situation if things turn crazy, which they do. But he's disabled. He gets injured, and it's Jon Voight who has to, at the end, rise to the occasion and, kind of take the mantle from Burt Reynolds and save the day. And he's terrific in it. The sheriff who shows up at the very end.
The writer. It's the guy who wrote the book. Yeah,
it was James Dickey. It was the guy who wrote the book. Yeah.
I remember him before I even watched the movie, because I've seen it a couple of times before in the past. I remembered that he seemed to be a very ominous character. I remembered that character towards the end of the movie going, I don't know, story. I just don't know.
You guys did something. Yeah.
And he was very, very good in that movie. Very good. And I didn't know until I watched the movie that here's another thing I want to talk to you about, Jim, is that he wrote the book and then he wrote the screenplay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and it's just him. It's his name on the screenplay, and that's it. And it seems to me, Jim, that writing a novel and writing a screenplay are two pretty different skill sets.
Damn straight.
Would you? Yeah. Can you talk to me a little bit about like movies that, because a lot of guys write books, but they're not able to really take their books and turn them into
every now and then you'll see that. We talked to Eric Roberts some time ago, and the movie The Pope of Greenwich Village was written by a fellow who, it was his first novel, and then he also turned around and wrote the screenplay. Did a very good job with it, and that is really rare that you see somebody who is kind of equally adept in both fields.
Well, we also talked to Ditto Montiel about writing recognizing your saints too. He did both of those.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, and I used to tell people, if we were dealing with a novelist who was going to adapt his book into a screenplay, I used to give them copies of Chinatown, the screenplay for Chinatown, and say, gosh, if you can, learn how to write like this, then, it shouldn't be that much trouble for you to adapt your book. But it really is a different animal.
Can you explain the end of that movie to me?
Forget about it, Jake. It's Chinatown.
Just forget.
Explain the beginning to me. I don't know why they sent that woman in to see the private eye in the first place. What were they looking for? What did they want? Did they want him to lead them to the girl? Is that what Houston wanted in sending that Diane Ladd to see him in the first place? That movie was on just a week or two ago on Turner Classic Movies, so I watched it again. And the question still puzzles me 50 years after I saw it for the first time. Why did they send that woman in to see him to begin with?
That's the screenplay you tell everybody who wants to be a writer. Yeah,
that's the one I tell everybody. Yeah, exactly.
The one I can't fucking make any sense of. The one I can't figure out.
But still, the day that movie came out, I went to see it in a theater, a matinee performance of it, and I was so stirred by it that I went back.
Robert
to see
Towne
it
write that? Is Robert Towne write
that?
Yes.
Yes.
And who directed it?
Polanski. Roman Polanski.
There's
a great book about that movie called The Big Goodbye that focuses on Polanski, Towne, and Robert Evans, who were sort of the main.
Was that a Paramount
players.
Movie? Was that a Paramount?
It was a Paramount movie. It was a weird movie in that Evans was still a production executive at Paramount, and yet he also took a producing credit on the movie.
You told me that very rarely ever happens, right?
Very rare, for sure. And then Polanski had put a real avant-garde, abrasive score on the movie and showed it to Evans, and Evans hated it, so he went running to Jerry Goldsmith and said, Jerry, could you please, save my movie? And this was only a few weeks before the movie was supposed to be coming out, and Goldsmith went into the studio and wrote that beautiful score for the movie in a matter of just a couple of weeks, a week or two. And I think that
for which movie? For which movie?
For Chinatown.
Oh, for Chinatown, yeah.
Yeah, the saxophones, the beautiful.
I love that movie right up until the end, where I just go like, I don't what? I don't understand any of this. But that happens to me a lot.
In Towne's original script, she doesn't die. It's the old man who gets killed. And Polanski said, I don't think that works. Let's kill the wife. I mean, he was only a few years out from having his own wife murdered from Sharon. So he kind of changed the ending. And so I think this was in 1973. This was at the end of Watergate and Vietnam, etc. And there's a lot of cynicism in the air. And he said, this is the way the world works. It's a dark place, and the bad guys win, especially rich bad guys tend to win. So, it was kind of a dark and cynical view, but that's what the world was showing him at the time. So they had a big argument about that, Polanski and Towne. And I think Towne later said, yeah, Roman's take was probably the right one, but we did fight about it, and I didn't like that ending. And in fact, in the sequel, The Two Jakes that Nicholson directed some almost 20 years later, The Noah Cross character, the John Huston character, is said to have killed himself, which I don't, from the first movie,
Right.
I wouldn't think that guy would be capable of killing himself.
Did Robert Towne write that movie? Sort of the one.
Yeah, he did.
He wrote that. Yeah.
And it's not very good. Did you ever see it?
No. And that would just the reason why when I say no like that makes me believe that it can't be very good, because if it's got Jack Nicholson in it and Robert Towne wrote it, you would think that it would be a wonderful movie. And since you never really hear much about it, I guess I figured.
Well, Nicholson directed it, and it suffered from that. And Nicholson isn't really a bad director. He's directed before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's no stranger to that. But it just this one just
what's it called, Jim?
The two Jakes.
Two Jakes, right?
The two Jakes, yeah.
What's that about?
Well, it's sort of about the idea initially was that Towne was going to write about power in Los Angeles, and so there's three kind of elements to that, and one was water, and one was oil, and one was land. So Chinatown was the first one, and that was going to be about water, and then the second one was going to be about oil, cornering the oil in the market in like over 100 years ago when oil was discovered in LA, and then a third movie which never got written was going to be about land. But the two Jakes was sort of about an oil swindle.
Two Jakes put a big skid on on the third one.
Yeah, the third one. Yeah, it's exactly. You can see why the third one never got off the ground after the second one. But
you know what's interesting about Deliverance, I thought, is the score. The score is basically a takeoff on Dueling Banjos. I mean, Dueling Banjos was a song. You could look that up, Kaylin, and it was a song that had already been around, and I think somebody wrote it, and then I think somebody kind of recorded it, but it is used throughout the entire movie, and I think it's really the only. I mean, it's not exactly Dueling Banjos all the way through the movie, but pretty much it is. And I kind of thought it's not very often that you hear a song, or am I wrong, Jim? Are there a bunch of movies around where one song is kind of the backbone?
No, I mean there are other movies around that do that. I couldn't think of any right offhand, but Dueling Banjos also was a song that kind of had a fair amount of popularity on the radio charts at that time too. It was sort of a crossover hit because you could hear it on AM and FM radio back in those days as well.
Right.
And it's a great scene in the movie when Ronnie Cox walks up to that kid, that backwoods kid, obviously a product of generations of inbreeding, a family who's treated a branch.
Yeah.
And it's a mesmerizing moment in the movie, isn't it? I mean, it just really gets you into the right mood for the movie.
I think it's safe to say it's probably the second most famous scene from that movie.
Yes. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is interesting. So the song was it was composed in 1954 and then recorded in 1955. The song was made famous in 72 from Deliverance, which also led to a successful lawsuit by the song's composer, as it was used in the film without their permission.
Wow. They did that? They used really? Wow, that's crazy.
They must have thought that was like traditional folk music or something with no copyright attached to it. They obviously didn't realize it was copyrighted, or they wouldn't have used it without, trying to secure permission. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, I didn't realize, Jim, that when they made the movie, the studio said to, it's John Borman, right?
Yeah.
Said to John Borman, you need 2 stars, and it was kind of done a little bit on a budget, and therefore they don't pay for their music, but it's kind of done on a budget, and they
$2 million.
$2 million.
That's how much. Yeah, the budget was
$2 million. I mean, that's a lot of fucking movie for $2 million, man. That is, even back then, I would think, isn't it, Jim? $2 million.
Yeah. That's pretty meager, especially when you look at it with a cast like Burt Reynolds and Jon Voight.
Yes. Yeah. And from what I didn't really quite realize it at the time, but that was almost, Ned Beatty was completely unknown. And was he? Were people aware of who Ned? Basically, I heard that once they got the 2 stars, they said, all right, you got the 2 stars. Now we're going to go get two people we don't have to pay anything. Ned Beatty was one, and
it's his first
Ronnie
film
Cox.
credit on Wikipedia.
Yeah. Oh, it is his first.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that he was awfully good for a guy who'd never been in a movie before. Can you imagine, Jim, being an actor and playing a role?
I saw Burt Reynolds on something like the Carson Show one night, telling a story about him and Ned Beatty some years after the movie had been made. A few years after the movie had been made, Beatty was saying, it's still traumatizing to me, that scene in the movie. And Burt said, well, I'll tell you what, why don't we take a trip down the river, and that will kind of cauterize the wound. It'll exorcise the demon, that's haunting you from this. And Beatty said, well, I'm not so sure about that. Hey, come on, let's do it. So they float down the river, and they come to the creek where that scene is shot. And the creek has now been renamed Sodomy Creek. and Reynolds said that put Ned in a real bad mood at that point. So
they actually did that. They went.
Yes, they renamed it Sodomy Creek. Now that's according to Burt Reynolds telling a story on the Carson Show. So I don't know how much of that is apocryphal, and hyperbole, but still I thought it was pretty funny. And there's probably some little element of kernel of truth to it, but it was pretty funny. But that is
I'd read someplace that Burt Reynolds was responsible for finding the guy who assaults Ned Beatty, his cohort, whatever it is, cohort. How do you spell that? C-O-H-O-R-T, cohort.
Yep.
Thank you. That was a Burt Reynolds find, and he's the guy who's kind of got all the missing teeth, and says he's got the.
Sure got a pretty smile.
No, he's sure got a pretty mouth. That's what he says.
Yeah,
he's sure got a pretty mouth.
You sure got a pretty mouth. Yeah.
I love it. Jon Voight's so fucking good. Jon Voight is, look back and. I wanted to say something to you, Jim, by the way. You told me recently about a movie about Tombstone that I'd never heard of, that was done by a director who had done an earlier version of Tombstone and then thought, like, the history is all wrong. I'm going to do an updated version, and this is the way history.
Yes.
Who was that? What was the name of that director?
John Sturges was a pretty well-known mainstream Hollywood director. He did the original Magnificent Seven with Yul Brynner.
Yes.
He did Gunfight at the OK Corral with Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas.
Yes.
Which was a very fictionalized version of the whole thing. And it actually does take place. There's a 20-minute gunfight at the end in a corral, and like Clanton gets killed and all kinds of, crapola is going on. But he wasn't really happy with that. Sturges wasn't. He made that movie in about 1957. He made Magnificent Seven shortly after that. And then he made a movie I loved as a kid, The Great Escape.
Yes.
And
worked with Steve McQueen twice there, right?
He brought back Steve McQueen. Charles Bronson is in that movie as well. And James Coburn. Yeah, used a couple of people from the Magnificent Seven cast in The Great Escape. and James Garner, and then a few years later he got Garner to agree to play. I think Garner plays Wyatt Earp, but he got Garner to be in a movie about Tombstone. He wanted to go back and kind of retell the story, but tell it more accurately, a bit more. I think he got kind of enamored in the history, as you know, that can happen to people who look into it. And since we're both reading that book right now, we got the galleys up, and it's called Hour of the Gun, and it stars James Garner, and I don't know who else is in it, but I told you that Jon Voight is in the movie.
Well,
it was
Jim,
made in 1967.
Now you can look this up. This is Jon Voight's first credit too. Jon Voight's got,
I think it is.
It's got one line in it. I watched it, Jim.
Did you?
Yeah, and it fucking is just this horrible fucking movie.
I'll bet.
It just fucking stale. You know, I just had seen who's the lead? We were just James
Garner.
James Garner. I just seen Garner in that movie, the Americanization.
Oh yeah,
of what is it? Americanization of what?
It's called The Americanization of Emily. It's a Paddy Chayefsky script that I absolutely love, made in 1963 or 4, I believe. World War II movie, very cynical, very self-serving. Garner has the lead in it with Julie Andrews.
Yes.
James Coburn is in it.
Boy, Julie Andrews was young in that. That was before Sound of Music.
Yeah, it was before Sound of Music.
I didn't even almost didn't
and
even recognize her.
And she doesn't even sing in this movie. She doesn't even sing in the movie.
No, no. And that performance of Garner's is just fucking brilliant. And that movie is really, really good. And so when I say, I'll tell you who's also fucking terrible in it, which is, I don't like, whatever, but Jason Robards plays Doc Holliday, and boy, is he fucking like just almost unwatchable. I mean, Jason Robards, he must have been on the wagon for that one. He was born.
Well, how old was he in 67? He would have been like probably.
He didn't seem that old.
Old. Wouldn't he be a little old to be playing Doc?
Well, he's definitely older than 32 or 33 or whatever Doc Holliday was. And how old did Doc Holliday? And I know Johnny Ringo was 33 when he died, and I know. So I don't.
Yeah, Holliday was about the same age.
That's what I thought too. Doc Holliday was about the same age, and
yeah.
Obviously they get away.
He died when he was about 36. Yeah,
they get away with stuff like that. But this movie, I watched it, and it's you got Jason Robards in a movie, and he's playing Doc Holliday, and. Was it Jon Voight's first movie?
Second movie.
Second movie. Okay. Because I wanted to pay attention to it because Jim, you had told me that Voight was in it, and he's there, and you can sort of see him in the background all through the. He's part of the kind of cowboy. Robert Ryan, is it Robert Ryan who plays?
Yeah, it could be.
Robert Ryan plays Ike Clanton, and
okay,
and Ike Clanton is sort of he's portrayed completely differently than what Stephen Lang did. Now, Stephen Lang was brilliant, but he's kind of portrayed. There's it is a little bit more closer to the truth of what went down, but there are still a lot of problems with it, and it was just like watching paint dry, man. It was just terrible. Anyway.
Well, it obviously didn't do very well.
How old was Jason Robards when he did that?
Well, he was born in 1922. So if you want to do the math on that.
Well, in what year was it?
He was about 40. He was about 45. And in the movie, doesn't he play like a Civil War veteran? And he's I think he's portrayed as older than the Earp brothers. In fact, he was.
That's one of the things that they got wrong. I think is that they do portray him as a Civil War vet. Yeah, that's another.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, if you want to go back to Deliverance for a minute,
yes.
I got a funny story growing up.
Okay.
Probably about 15 years ago, you had the inspiration to pick up the banjo. And you would sit in that house and thumb that fucking Deliverance song day and night and drive my mom up a fucking wall with your little banjo that you decided you were going to start learning.
How old were you when that was going down?
I was probably, again, I said 15 years ago. It was probably longer than that. I was probably like 12, 13, something like that.
Yeah, your mother was at a doctor's, or there was some sort of like minor surgery going on with her or with you, and I kind of got left like, okay, well, come pick us up in 3 hours. I don't think it was you. I think it was something to do with your mom, and I was wandering around that neighborhood. Santa Monica, whatever. I walked into this store, and it was a cheap banjo. It was like cost like $30 or something like that. And yeah, I was like that Dueling Banjos thing, and it did drive my Kaylin's mother, Gina. She still talks about it.
That damn banjo.
Yeah. I mean, it's, a banjo's not like, you don't really strum a banjo. I mean, you can, but not really the way that is played. I've always liked, what do they call it? Bluegrass music?
Yeah.
I've always kind of had a thing about bluegrass, and I've always liked certain elements of bluegrass music, especially the banjo, and you'll get a really great banjo player and a really great guitar player together, and I could,
Well, Steve Martin had a banjo. That was
Steve Martin was a great. He was very good. I know because I tried to learn how to play it, and Steve Martin was. He was fabulous.
It was sort of a prop of his, but he was really good at it. He could really play that thing too.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So
I watched not all that long ago, Catch-22, the movie Mike Nichols directed in 1970, based on Joseph Heller's famous book. And Jon Voight has a role in that, playing the really cynical war profiteer named Milo Minderbinder. And God, is he terrific in that movie. He is just wonderful in that movie. That's it. I thought that movie held up very well when I watched it again not long ago. And he's just fabulous in that. So it is fun to go back and watch some of his earlier performances, after Midnight Cowboy. The couple of movies that he came up with after that, Deliverance and Catch-22, were both, really rewarding experiences to sit through again.
I'm trying to think. I watched another movie of his. Now I'm trying to think of the name of it. I know what it was. I was really disappointed because I thought this movie, John Singletary, I think it was the director.
Oh, yeah.
And he did a movie that was it seemed like it was kind of based on that race riot that went on. That thing that happened where they burn up all the black businesses. And what was that? What was that thing in history? It wasn't that exactly, but
it wasn't. There's probably the best known is in Tulsa about 100 years ago in the 1920s. Tulsa had a kind of what they call the Black Wall Street,
Yes.
And there was a massacre that occurred and burned up that whole area, killed a bunch of people. It was I read a book about it for a production company not long ago, and it was a really horrific thing. There was something similar, I think, that happened in North Carolina, and that's the incident that Singleton made a movie about.
Do you know what the name of that movie is, Caitlin? Or Jim, do you know the name of that?
It would be John Singleton. Look up John Singleton.
Yeah. And
Boys in the Hood guy.
Yeah, and it's got a couple of okay, I'm trying to think of the name.
What's their connection with Mike Nichols?
What?
Is there a connection with Mike Nichols, the director?
Not really.
I thought this is how you started it.
John Singletary.
It was called Rose.
Yes. Rosewood. Is that? Yeah. Oh,
right.
Okay. And it's got a good cast. Michael Rooker's in it, and he plays. Michael Rooker's pretty good at playing that Alabama boy. You know that.
Yeah.
That Alabama hick with the spitting and
it's quite a good cast. Bing Rams,
yes.
Don Cheadle.
Yeah.
Lauren Dean. Michael Rooker. Yeah, it's a good cast.
But it's not very good. I didn't. I think John
Singleton. It was not a commercial success.
He's not with us anymore, is he?
No.
Yeah. Well, so I guess I can say that
He was a classmate of our friend Adam Novak, who we had on the show before. They were the only two guys in their USC screenwriting class who wrote screenplays as undergraduates that got optioned. And Singleton's was Boys in the Hood. It got made. And Adams was called Conversations with a Cannibal, and it never got made. But Adam and John were classmates, and Adam knew him pretty well.
Yeah.
And he died a few years ago.
Yeah. So what else?
Just to be fair, not that I've seen the movie, but it does have good Rotten Tomatoes scores on it. Both audience and critics seem to like it quite a bit.
Rosewood?
Yeah.
Well, everybody's got a different opinion. Everybody has a different, I mean, it had a high production value.
It got favorable reviews generally, but it just
I was looking forward to watching it because, we've been talking about Voight. I thought okay, Jon Voight's in this, and Jon Voight's great. And Jon Voight is always good. Jon Voight is always good. He did that movie with that big snake on
Anaconda.
Anaconda, and
even in something like that. Well, he was terrific in
but he's great. He was great in Anaconda. He's the only thing in Anaconda that is even watchable.
Worth watching.
That's a fun movie. That's one of those. That's one of those movies. It's about a giant snake in.
I know.
It's not supposed to be like a fucking theatrical masterpiece, but for what it is, with Ice Cube in it and Jennifer Lopez, it's what you call a good bad movie.
Okay. But Jon Voight, if you watch Jon Voight in that movie, Jon Voight is fucking there. He is the best thing in it from an acting standpoint. You had a question that you wanted to ask Jim and I?
Yeah, but we're out of time for that. That's a whole discussion.
All right, then we'll pick. Hey, Jim, are you Jim? Jim, let me ask you.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I just want to thank everybody that listens to us and seems to enjoy it. I love reading the comments that you write, and I want to hear about other movies.
We are responding to them too.
Yeah. Well, I don't respond. I don't really know how to do it very much. I can read them, and I actually have responded.
We, not you. I said we are responding.
Yeah. I actually did respond one.
Suggestions. And we are following up on suggestions.
I'm the actor who goes oh, this guy loves it. 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 Oh. This guy fucking hates it. All right, pick up my fucking phone. Fuck you, motherfucker.
I'll respond to that one. Yeah. The one who called it a train wreck.
Well, quit watching it, you fucking. We only pay attention to our bad reviews. Okay, so on that, okay, so I guess we should. You're just gonna be part of the podcast. Are you doing your thing on when? Oh, you can't. Well, all right, never mind. All right, so that's the end of this. Thank you, everybody. I'm so happy that you're watching and listening, and I'm having so much fun. I'm working with my son, Kalen, who I love dearly, like I do all my children, and this gives us a chance to get together and hang out and kind of talk movies, and I'm just really enjoying the situation. I'm having lunch with Adam, by the way, on Wednesday.
Wonderful.
And so we'll find out maybe a little bit more about Onslaught, but probably I'm not going to be able to, these days you can't really talk about very much. So, but I know we got Jim Cameron coming up in the future, and we'll...
Oh, Ron Shelton too. We got to get
Ron, that's on you, bro. That's on you because
it's kind of on your schedule too, because you have some signings coming up, I believe.
Well, you got the big Comic-Con coming up at the end of this month, so we'll probably try and schedule that after that.
The San Diego Comic-Con. Anyway, okay, so can you do this tomorrow, Jim?
Yeah.
I think
absolutely.
Instead of like doing another one, and you cut this wherever you want to cut it. We'll just do it tomorrow. And just because I get a little tired of talking, unless I'm talking about myself, then I can go on all day long, But when we start talking about other things, I get a little tired. So we'll get back to you, Jim, on the time, and we'll do the next one tomorrow. Okay.
Sounds good. Sure. I can, I have a few things I need to do tomorrow, but nothing that I can't rearrange or do around
eye surgery.
Recording.
You have to push your eye surgery back another week.
Just BS stuff. Like
go get some cue the music.
Razor blade.
Cue the music.
Yeah.